This tutorial is a quick tutorial on parenting in After Effects. So if I jump to my page in Illustrator, I've got the word fire, which basically means chase or to follow. So I've set it up like this. The first thing to notice is that everything is on its own individual layer. If I want it to come up as an individual timeline, I need to have it on its own layer in Illustrator. If I go save as here, and I'll just give it a name. Save it, and I'll jump into After Effects. I'll make a new composition, HD TV 1080-25. We're after white background, 10 seconds. Okay, that all looks good. I'll just fit it to the page. In my project window, I'll just double click. And I'll bring in that option. First thing here is we don't want footage because that'll flatten it. So I'll go Composition, Retain Layers. It comes up with a composition window here. I can drag that onto my own window or main window. So I can drag that onto the main window. Here I've got the brown timeline because it's a composition. So if I double click it, it will show me all of those individual layers. Now this composition, if I move something, so let's say I get the W, P for position, put a keyframe, and I'll move it. Put a keyframe, move the playhead, move that. If I go back to my main composition, what you'll see is that once it goes outside that boundary, it disappears. So I'm going to come back into here. I'm just going to get rid of those keyframes, and I'm going to change the size of the composition. So if I go Composition, Settings, I can change it to whatever size I want. I'm just going to make it exactly the same size as what I had on the other window. So I'll go HTV 1080-25. I'll change the background color just so I can see what I'm doing. And there we go. So now I have it on here. So I can grab all of these elements, and for a start, I'm going to drag them off the side of the window. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to parent them. So I can see the things here. The W is going to be the leader. So that's going to be the parent. So in here, if you're in this section, you will just go toggle switches and modes, and it will bring up the parenting. Actually, the parenting is on the first section as well. So W is going to be my main one. So I'm going to have the H, and either I can use the pull down menu and change it to W, or I can use the pick, click and drag, and point to what I want it to link up to. The A, I'm going to pick wicket, that's going to go to the W as well. This time with the I, I'm going to do the I and attach it to the A, and we'll see what the difference is. So what's going to happen now is if I get the W and I drag it, everything moves with it because everything is parented to that W. So I'll keyframe this for a start. Go P, give it a keyframe. Move it over about a second. I'll make it 2 seconds. I can drag it, use the Bezier handles. Let's see if I can give it a bit of a curve. I'll drag in the work area, hit the spacebar, and that's what I've got at the moment. I'm going to scale it up, so I can go Shift S, and you'll see because it's parented, everything else is scaling as well. So make the W really big, play it. So now with this, I can start to alter some of these other options. So now if I go to the H, I'm going to go scale for a start, and make it a lot smaller. I'm going to go P for position, and as it moves it with this one, I can move it individually. So as it follows the W, I'm still controlling where it's going. Shift will snap to the other keyframe, and I'm just going to go in and have a look a little bit closer, and that's so I can come in here and I can get the convert tool. I'm just going to drag some handles out. Some of these have become corner pointers, and I want the curves to be a little bit smoother. Put it back in the window, and I'm also going to add in an element of rotation. So go Shift R, which just adds rotation as well. Click it, drag it to the end, and let's hit the spacebar and play it. Okay, so let's do something similar with the A. So go P for position, keyframe it, move it along a little bit, and I'll just have to drop this back, maybe a little bit more so I can see the other letter forms. And so I need to change the scale as well. So I'll just go Shift S, make it a lot smaller. And now with the position, let's move that around as well. There's a handles here, so I can move them. And push this. Now what you will notice is that the I is moving with the A, and this is simply because the I is parented to the H, so it's going to follow that. So in this case, what I can do is I can come in here, I can go the I, I'll go the scale. I don't need to, I can change it individually, but at the moment, because I scaled the A, it has automatically scaled the I. So I've got this, and I'm actually going to make it a bit bigger. It doesn't affect the H, or sorry, the A, because the A is the parent. I'll bring in position, and now I can move this independently to the A. And I'm actually going to give it a bit more of a scaling up, so it's actually growing as it's moving. Actually, I'll take it. I didn't keyframe that, so I better make sure that I keyframe the scale. Back at the start, I'll make it a little bit smaller. So as it moves, it's going to scale up. Move along a bit further, and I'll scale it back down a little. Position, bring it back on, take it to the end, and again I'll just change some of these into curves. This one I'll cross it over, move that point a bit, and I'm also with this one I'm going to add in a little element of rotation. So I can hit Shift R. Rotate it a bit, keyframe it, take it back here, and I'll put that rotation on 0. And let's play it, see how everything looks. Whatever happens with the main window is going to affect everything else. So if I come in here to the W and I add an element of rotation in here, just a slight rotation. Everything throughout that animation is going to rotate just a little. Maybe I'll make that rotation a bit more. Toggles and switches. Put on some motion blur. You can see here that nothing is really happening, so I need to go into the composition and make sure that I've got my motion blur on it here as well. And now when we go back, we can see that bit of motion blur, especially with the eye. All of these things we can go in and we can use the render, or sorry, the graph editor. So if I go to the W, graph editor, and I change it to speed graph, and then I'm going to click on position, so get this graph. You can watch the dots here to see what happens if I grab my arrow tool. If I drag it in here and change this curve, we can see that it's going to go really fast at the beginning, and then it's going to slow down. It's going to go through and render itself. And so it's now giving a little bit of speed, but we can also go in and we can work with these other ones as well. So if I go to the eye and open up the editor, go to position again, you can see I've got a whole lot of things here with all the different curves. So I can now come in and just stop that playing. So we can look at some of this stuff. You can see the curve that it's working with at the moment. There's this one here, I'll just enlarge it up a bit. So it's this curve here that we're working with by pulling this curve, and we can see that it's going faster here and then it's slowing down. So let's play it. You can see fast little jolt just there, and then it's fast and then it slows.